New 3.tech. George Floyd and the race riots, a false flag event now. In piggybacking upon our previous conversation with ties between George Soros and the protests made into race riots, it has been well documented that controversial anti-American groups, funded by such high-profile individuals, have swayed public opinion to resist the current administration. One of those groups is Antifa, funded by George Soros himself and a strong proponent for the deep state. Antifa is an organization of terror, known to utilize physical intimidation tactics. It is a movement composed of left-wing, autonomous, militant anti-fascist groups and individuals within the United States. The principal feature of Antifa groups is their use of direct action, whilst imposing intended conflicts occurring both online and in real life. Funding such an organization can also be considered as a criminal act. Now, without spending too much time rewriting a previous article that I wrote about Antifa, which was officially termed a terrorist group by the administration, it has been well documented and officially observed how Antifa had essentially hijacked the Black Lives Matter (BLM) movement during the protests made into violent riots between the tail end of March 2020 and the first week of June 2020. The article that I wrote below, The Awakening Can the BLM Movement, clearly emphasizes this. But in analyzing the matter further, I started to question whether BLM had even been hijacked at all. Then, more evidence started to surface as I continued to research the matter. What followed from within my own fact-checking and deep diving into this subject was absolutely a surprise to me. This revelation will be provided to you within the next segment now. Let's logically break it down. These protests were essentially manifested into being in a rather speedily fashion, immediately after the murder of George Floyd on Labor Day 2020 by a white cop in Minneapolis. This sparked up an inflamed response from the organization Black Lives Matter, BLM, literally within days. My question is this: how did such protests arise so quickly within a matter of those so-called days? Well, the answer to this question is simple. These protests were highly organized. But the other question of concern is this: what is required in order to bring into being such protests? Answer: organization which requires a great deal of money, well worth within the millions. So, who funded BLM? Answer: George Soros and many other billionaires of the like. And to backtrack, as a simple reminder, Soros also funds Antifa. This is public record. And may I make special emphasis on the meaning of Antifa? Just because an organization names themselves as Antifa, short for anti-fascists, does that make them essentially anti-fascist in behavior? Absolutely not. This, in and of itself, is a mind control prompt in reverse psychology. Clearly, such behavior expressed by Antifa does not support peaceful protest nor peaceful agendas. This organization has clearly opposite connotations, based on behavior alone, to their publicly claimed mission statement. Yes, instead of being anti-fascist in nature, they are indeed fascist. The same holds true for BLM's underlying agenda, whereby the true roots of this organization holds deep into anti-Semitic favor, Hamas, and the Muslim Brotherhood. Yes, I said it. BLM has close and significant ties to Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, which are both officially identified terrorist groups. This damning evidence has been clearly identified by Understanding the Threat, founder, John Guandolo, where he has simply stated that front terrorist groups, the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, and CAIR, are using BLM as essentially the pawn group to foment a revolution in the United States. And if that wasn't enough, BLM is also not even an official charity organization. So, BLM is under close observation and scrutiny and is simultaneously under FBI investigation as we speak, now that they are also within the business of tearing down historic statues, including Abraham Lincoln and, guess what, statues of Jesus Christ. Now, this is entirely going overboard in my opinion and is absolutely disgraceful to the Christian faith. BLM and its ties to Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. In conclusion to this thread, if Black lives truly matter to this organization with Black Lives Matter, BLM, what are we to say about the following murders as a result of the BLM protests made into race riots? What are we to say about that? Shouldn't the name for BLM be instead, All Black Lives Matter? Where is the nationalized and honorary funerals for these African American lives, lost in vain, under the watch of this BLM organization? In all honesty, BLM is truly to blame, they are accountable and it needs to be shut down. With due respect, shall we take this moment to bow our heads in prayer for the following people and along with the other lives lost, for which are not mentioned within the following list. Lord, please forgive them, please forgive us, for we know not what they do. David Dorn, a 77-year-old retired St. Louis police captain, was shot and killed on June 2nd by looters who broke into a pawn shop. David MC80, the 53-year-old owner of a barbecue restaurant, was shot and killed on June 1st in Louisville. Chris Beatty, 38, who played football for Indiana University and was known as Mr. Indianapolis, was shot and killed on the street in downtown Indianapolis on May 30th during a protest. Dorian Morell, 18, was fatally shot in Indianapolis the same night as Beatty. Italia Kelly, 22, was shot and killed June 1st in Davenport, Iowa, as she was leaving a protest outside a Walmart. Marquis Toussaint, 23, of Rock Island, Illinois, was shot and killed in Davenport the same night as Kelly. Patrick Underwood, 53, a federal officer, died as he was providing security at AU.S courthouse in Oakland, California. During a protest when someone fired shots from a vehicle. Calvin Horton Jr. A 43-year-old black man was fatally shot outside a Minneapolis pawn shop on May 27th, 2 days after Floyd's death. The 59-year-old owner was later booked into jail on suspicion of murder and then released as the investigation continues. James Scurlock, a 22-year-old black man, was killed Saturday after authorities said he tussled with the owner of two downtown bars. Javar Harrell, a 21-year-old man, was killed in downtown Detroit on June 5th after someone fired shots into a vehicle during a protest. Barry Perkins, 29, of St. Louis, was killed May 30th after climbing between two trailers of a FedEx truck during an interstate protest near downtown St. Louis. Jorge Gomez, 25, of Las Vegas, was fatally shot by officers breaking up a protest in downtown Las Vegas on June 1st. Jose Gutierrez, 28, of Chicago, was fatally shot during unrest following a protest in Cicero on June 1st, according to reports. He was shot as people were breaking into businesses in the neighborhood and taking whatever they could carry, police said. They said Gutierrez was a bystander, not involved in any looting. Victor Cazares Jr. 27, was fatally shot near a grocery store in Cicero the same night as Gutierrez in a separate incident. Cazares was from Cicero. Marvin Francois, 50, was shot and killed May 31st after a protest in Kansas City, MO. According to reports. The media are lying to you about everything, including the riots. The Global Alliance and Defender Europe 20 throughout the length of this distraction, the global quarantine, once more played a very important role as implemented within this plan. The sequence of events which followed the quarantine and the 30-day travel ban proved to be perfectly orchestrated timing utilized to isolate and neutralize the enemy. Coincidentally, not many knew that there was an orchestrated gathering that was being implemented by the military tribunals, the Global Alliance, under the guise of POTUS. This deployment was a massive mobilization of over 30,000 U.S. troops to Europe, involving over 18 nation countries, and the name of this gathering of sorts was named Defender Europe 20, a Defender Freedom 20. On the outside, it was advertised as an exercise, but could it hold another agenda in mind? This was not advertised by the popular media. But of course, we all know who owns the MSM, mainstream media, right? Absolutely, it's the deep state. So with that being said, after reviewing the above links in support, the overall underlying mission of Defender Freedom 20 is indeed a highly organized and secretive one which was set to initiate mass arrests of the very people and groups of organizations whom have been a part of the deep state. But it doesn't stop there in Europe. The same operation is being done all around the world. Why, may you ask? Well, these very people who have been targeted by Defender Europe 20 have been involved with some of the most heinous, evil, and some of the most unbelievable of crimes imposed upon to humanity and our children, including money laundering, extortion, treason, corruption, murder, sex crimes, pedophilia, human trafficking, drug trafficking, satanic blood sacrifice, cannibalism, war crimes, and so much more. So, in review, while much of Europe had been closed off due to the coronavirus pandemic, elite military forces from 17 NATO and partner countries, known as the Global Alliance, the BRICS nations, used the Defender Europe 20 military exercise as a cover to arrest leading deep state Satanists entrenched in fortified European compounds, according to a New York Times best-selling author David Wilcock. David made his startling claim in his latest video live-streamed on 3/19/2020 to his 288,000 YouTube followers. In his video presentation, Wilcock cites at length a March 15 English language summary of an article by Manlio Dinucci, who wrote about the Defender Europe 20 deployment for the March 3 issue of the Italian web publication, Newspaper 3 Manifesto. This March 15 article summarizes Dinucci's earlier Italian language article, entitled, 30,000 American Troops Arrive in Europe Amidst COVID-19 Crisis, and begins as follows. Despite Trump's travel ban, 20,000 American troops will be traveling to Europe in the next few days, joining the 10,000 already there. Despite the travel advisories issued by the U.S. State Department for Americans traveling to northern Italy and elsewhere in Europe, Dinucci is again cited from his original March 3 article. However, one category of U.S. citizens is exempted from these rules, the 20,000 soldiers beginning to arrive from the United States in European ports and airports for the Defender Europe 20 exercise, the largest U.S. troop deployment in Europe in the last 25 years. Including those already present, about 30,000 U.S. troops will participate in April and May, flanked by 7,000 troops from 17 NATO member and partner countries, including Italy. And the epicenter of operations for this deep state is found within the heart of Italy, one of the largest population of diagnosed COVID-19 cases. Wink wink, the deep state is a very old entity which possesses its deepest foundations from within the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire had tried to conquer the world. Rome's original name was Saturnia, which means the city of Saturn. Saturn was the Chaldean, Babylonian, god. Saturn was also another name for Nimrod or Tammuz, the originators of the Baal or satanic religion. Rome was a Baal city. As Rome was reaching out to conquer the world, it assimilated the religions and gods from the pagan countries it ruled. But you will never hear this type of knowledge nor news broadcast from the popular media, which is owned and controlled by the deep state, now would you? But the story doesn't end there. The most recent developments have arisen where two large naval hospital ships, the USNS Mercy in California and the USNS Comfort in New York, have docked at their designated ports. We will focus more in particular to the USNS Comfort, where it is docked specifically at New York Harbor early Monday morning on 3/30/2020. According to the New York Times, their headliner for that day was this: Navy hospital ship reaches New York. But it's not made to contain coronavirus. The New York Times Navy officials do not plan to treat people with coronavirus aboard the Comfort. The mission is to take patients with other medical problems to relieve New York hospitals overrun by virus patients. But it is not as if the ship's medical personnel can quarantine patients for 2 weeks before they accept them on board for treatment. Navy officials, aware that all it would take is one positive case to turn the Comfort from rescue ship to floating petri dish, insist that they are doing everything short of saran wrapping the ship to try to keep it virus-free. We will establish a bubble around this ship to make sure we are doing everything to keep it out, Captain Joseph O'Brien, Commodore of Task Force New York City, said in an interview from the Comfort on Sunday. So, what does this mean? Well, leaks have been surfacing as early as Wednesday 4/02/2020, where there have been reports that nurses and other healthcare workers assigned to work in tandem with military personnel, M.A.S.H units based in Central Park, have reported that there is another mission involved here which has not been reported by POTUS, nor the MSM. And the mission is this: to save the children. What children? Answer: the children whom have been involved in, essentially played victim to, the evil world of human trafficking, pedophilia, and sexual abuse. As to where these children have been acquired from, there are variable accounts coming in, as the days go by, from multiple sources derived from the civilian sector. From reliable sources, these children have been acquired from underground tunnel systems retrieved by military forces. Makeshift hospitals and M.A.S.H units have been established to where they have been built to sustain only children for treatment with the type of equipment that can only be observed and seen being used on children younger than the age of 11 in child intensive care units. Such equipment reported to being seen within these hospital units are baby bags and incubators. One of these temporary hospital setups can be found in New York City's Central Park. Accounts from volunteers and nurses detailed to these M.A.S.H units are slowly surfacing to the forefront. And I might add that these reports are coming out rather easily because of the horrific nature concerning the unsightly and dilapidated conditions of these emaciated children that they are treating, as more and more children are rushed in for medical attention. But, as reported by the CDC, this current strain of the coronavirus does not affect children, right? In the same notion, these makeshift hospitals are also catering to non-COVID-19 patients. So, what does that tell you? There seems to be more to what is actually happening as opposed to what has been revealed to the general public eye. Stay tuned for more information as newer intelligence surfaces within the next few days to weeks. Within the same vein, the war against this so-called hidden enemy plays dual meaning. Not only does the hidden enemy represent the viral 2020 pandemic outbreak of COVID-19, but it also means this in code: the evil global cabal, the deep state, the hidden underground war. Now, if you are totally unaware, as I was at one point, there is a dark satanic world which exists from underneath the radar. It is dark. It is hidden. It is evil. Indeed, there is a Luciferian world laden within the dumbs, deep underground military bases, which have been implanted within the deepest layers of the earth. I want to share this information with you, to inform the masses of what and who we are dealing with. After all, the good knowledge must be shared for the good of the whole. When Trump was elected president of the United States, he began a large-scale operation to exterminate the world mafia. We are not talking about ordinary criminals. We are talking about a dirty and sinister circuit of deep state elite, a ruthless and satanic system of Luciferian ideology which exists all throughout the world. This dirty circuit, once more, is the cabal. Since the very thought had occurred within mind to spearhead this operation to disengage the very currency of which runs this evil circuit, thousands and upon thousands of soldiers have been trained to engage in these underground tunnel battles. Of course, this is most certainly different from other modes of training. Actually, this specific mode of training is unprecedented. Millions of dollars have poured directly into these highly specializing military units. Whether you know of this or not, the Trump administration's main concern has always been aimed at entirely freeing all young children and babies, whom have been imprisoned within these secret underground bases, abducted children encompassing the majority under the age of 10. In America alone, more than 800,000 children are lost each year to child enslavement, organ harvesting, prostitution, sex and human trafficking. Earlier, I mentioned and highly emphasized the cabal's main form of currency. One would think that this currency is of the paper or digital kind. Wrong. When, indeed, their highest form of currency is disturbingly enough, children. In this particular form of currency, as far as how it relates to children within this case, is the literal drug trafficking of adrenochrome in exchange for other human children, women, or both. It is very much so, a highly sought-out commodity from amongst the satanic elite. The underground war, never talked about, https://adrenagate.wordpress.com/2020/04/04/34947 children rescued from giant thermonuclear blasted underground facility /PLIT equals IWAR2ZRLWH4A4J02CZ922's JHP9WPH8BG KUA 97VU UCTUL DXE213BPBNSCXM more evidence of the underground war to save the children, https://www.youtube.com/watchv equals 3YGJUC9SK1W the new army program created to train troops. How to fight underground, https://www.youtube.com/watchv equals LXGRYERHDE What is adrenochrome? Now, going back to was mentioned earlier, adrenochrome is a compound formed by the oxidation of adrenaline. Its main medical use is to slow blood loss by promoting clotting in open wounds. It's available for purchase online by researchers, with most outlets stating its source is synthetic and its uses are the inhibition of COMT, which deactivates certain neurotransmitters, and the synthesis of prostaglandins, fats involved with blood clotting. In his 1973 book Legal Highs, Adam Gottlieb described adrenochrome as being physically stimulating and inducing a feeling of well-being, slight reduction of thought processes. It's unknown whether he ever took the drug or if this was based on hearsay. Legal Highs also contained entries on catnip and guarana, so the bar for a high was low. Follow the White Rabbit, https://www.youtube.com/watchv equals 2CT/OXLBXIG Follow the White Rabbit. Most reports of adrenochrome throughout literature sound a lot like DMT. It's very possible beatniks just gave DMT the cool name adrenochrome and the real compound got caught up in the mix. Adrenochrome is a popular topic in conspiracy circles. It's a drug of the Hollywood elite. It's addictive. It's harvested from tortured children in satanic rituals, they reckon. The current strain of theory is that a huge amount of celebrities have come down with COVID-19 due to a tainted batch of adrenochrome. Most celebrities classified as liberal Hollywood elite are American or British, two nations that have been struggling to manage the COVID-19 outbreak, so it's not hugely surprising that many have contracted the virus. Adrenochrome harvesting, according to the conspiracies, is done by drinking blood, heart surgery, or tapping into the brainstem. The adrenal glands are located above the kidneys, so that's probably where you really want to look. Once more, adrenochrome is a highly trafficked commodity and, of course, a very expensive drug. This is one of the main reasons why the Trump administration has implemented a highly regimented task force to track down the most dangerous drug lord establishments throughout the globe. And, yes, this is a global operation. As more and more of these hidden cells, as established and orchestrated by the cabal, are infiltrated and abolished by these covert military operations orchestrated by the white hats under the guise of the U.S. administration and the global alliance, the world will begin to see that there is another threat that lurks within the shadows. Ironically, the world will begin to awaken to see that the real global pandemic is not viral, but evil. Tom Hanks and the deep fake, an ironic message from the alliance. Well, for those of you whom possess not a single inkling of a clue as to what a deep fake is, well, I am here to tell you exactly what it is. And it is absolutely fascinating. Deepfakes, a portmanteau of deep learning and fake, are synthetic media in which a person in an existing image or video is replaced with someone else's likeness. Deepfakes have garnered widespread attention for their uses in celebrity pornographic videos, revenge porn, fake news, hoaxes, and financial fraud. Wikipedia, Tom Hanks on SNL, Saturday Night Live an investigative analysis of the evidence, https://www.youtube.com/watchv equals 6CTQAXVNDSS and feature equals u2.b and FLIT equals IWAR09LC2T249ZNSQXX3 is BNIWD2K08 3XN2TTJTZ HOSJB38RKBF63K Tom Hanks and the deepfake on SNL. Tom Hanks has been involved with many conspiracy theories related to pedophilia, child pornography, human trafficking and the like. But I am not here to portray that information to you in any way. I am here merely just to provide the evidence. I do encourage for you to research that information on your own and to fact check responsibly. The purpose of including this little TID bit of information along with the link of the actual video of this potential deepfake production comes from the intention of relaying questionable vital encrypted information from within its content to reveal to you that the author of such material was not derived from Tom Hanks himself, but rather from another underlying source, the Alliance. The following video is a supposed graduation speech from home as he sends the greatest of wishes to the graduates of Wright State. But, surprisingly enough, this video has nothing to do with Wright State, but has everything to do with being in the right state. They, whoever they are, gave Tom Hanks this script to recite to the world a very special message from Gitmo. Pay special attention to other code words that Tom has emphasized like reawaken and global reset and the chosen ones. Other words include, the creative fires ongoing mysteries crossing the Rubicon the great pandemic of 2020 the restructuring of time our own national will a worldwide commonwealth the great reboot responsible Americans, good Americans the after a time of sacrifice you will see the movie and you will know how it ends. A known QAnon excerpt, going back to 3/16/2020, Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson tested positive for COVID-19 in Australia. It was reported that they were in Australia filming an undisclosed movie. As a result from testing positive, they were required to be quarantined for at least 14 days before returning back to the United States after filming from their supposed film production. But on the other side of things, from what has been reported from our insiders, Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson were arrested and were held in a military installation for questioning. This arrest was part of the mass global arrests which were being orchestrated by the global alliance to take down the pedophile elite. The following image shows some evidence of that potentiality. Usually within military installations, cabinet doors, doorways, and other military enclosures often possess barcodes taped to their edges. As you can see from the background behind Tom and Rita, there is a barcode taped just above Tom's head. Tom Hanks also made an appearance on SNL, Saturday Night Live, as a home edition broadcast. But if one were an expert on deepfakes, which I am not, one may question the authenticity of the legitimacy of that particular SNL broadcast. Many digital soldiers are asking questions, such as, is that a green screen behind Tom? His hands do not portray the hands of the actual actor himself. Whose hands are they? Is this a deepfake? As to the answer for these very intuitive questions, I could not provide a legitimate answer myself. It is inconclusive. But as for me, I cannot rule that out. I question, indeed, the authenticity of that video. The questions previously asked are well worthy of further investigation. Nesra in the globe.